everyone, welcome to Crafty Yarn Owl with Darla. I'm Darla. So we're going to be making the tank top today, and let's talk about the yarn that I used for this one. It's just a smaller weight yarn, and what I used was Stylecraft Naturals bamboo and cotton. There's 100 grams in here. This shade is lavender 7163. It's 60% bamboo, 40% cotton. In one skein is 250 meters approximately, it says, 273 yards. They classify it as a DK weight, which would be a 3 weight, but to me it's more like a 2 weight. It's very nice yarn. It is soft. But the thing is with this yarn, honestly, it splits. So yeah, just letting you know about that. And the hook sizes I used, I started with a 5mm at the top here. And then I think with this one, just after this middle section or just under your girls, I went to a 5.5. And then, you know, after a few rows, I changed to a 6mm. And that's to give it a little bit more room. Let's see. Give it a little bit more room at the bottom. It's a gradual, makes it gradually a little bit looser so that, like it's very subtle so that it flares just a tiny bit. Well, it's supposed to anyway. But because we did single crochets down here, it kind of pulled it back in a little bit. So yeah, that's the yarn I used for that one. Let's go to the yarn I used for the tutorial. First of all, let me tell you, I used 2 balls and then I got into the 3rd ball. And this is what I have left of the 3rd ball, so I didn't use much of it at all. Now let me tell you why I'm calling it the Cindy tank top, because Cindy over at Cindy the Crocheter A she suggested that I make this same stitch here partway down the top. So I thought that was a great idea. Thank you so much for that, Cindy. She has a channel. I'll link her channel below. So you're going to see in the tutorial as I'm crocheting along, you're going to see some knots, because this is, I had made a couple of items from this yarn and then I frogged them and then I made this top. So I separated the colors like this. This I didn't actually use in this tutorial, the way I separated them here. But yeah, so I was trying to figure out what yarn this was, and now I know. It is from Hobium, and it is called Mirafil Bella Cotton, and this is the color African Violet. And it's 100% Pima cotton. It's a 4-weight yarn. In each ball is 100 grams, which is 185 yards. I had bought a 6-pack at the time. You could also buy them individually. If you buy a 6-pack, it's a little cheaper per ball. And to figure out how much yarn I actually used, I weighed this piece. When it was finished, I weighed it. And it weighs 281 grams, so I calculated the yardage. It's about 520 yards that I used. I will link the video below that shows how I calculate the weight or the yards by weight. If you have the information, if you have the label, or you can find it online, you could calculate it that way. But I'll put that video below. And let's see, it suggests a hook size of 3.5. Well, I did not use that. I used a 6mm. I started at the top with a 6mm, did the straps in a 6mm. Then as I worked down, I did a few rows, and then I went to a 6.5 to give the girls a little bit more room, and I stuck with the 6.5 all the way to the bottom. So that's what I did, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Thank you. We're going to make a chain of an even number, and we're going to be working in the round. Okay. This chain has to fit across your girls and around your back and back to the front again. Make sure it's just a little bit loose. Okay, so I'll come back and tell you how many chains I made. Now I chained 104. I chained 100 first, and then I saw to see if it would fit around me, and it did, but I added 4 more just to make it a little looser, so it's not tight, too tight. All right, then you're going to want to make sure your chain is not twisted at all, and then you're going to join both pieces like that, or both ends, I should say. Okay, so now we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to make a single crochet in every stitch around the chain. And when you've completed those single crochets, you will have the same number as you had of your chains. So I'm going to have 104 single crochets. Okay, I'll see you at the end of the row. All right, now I've made my last single crochet, and I've counted them. I do have 104. So I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet we made, not that chain 1, but the single crochet. Just slip stitch. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I need to save some yarn, or I could cut this yarn and then single crochet over my chain and then go back to that yarn, this color yarn again. But I see that this is what I have. Yeah, this is about the amount I have, so I'm hoping I have enough to go around to make a single crochet to tidy up that chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it. Cut this bit of yarn and then take my chances at the end of my top. Okay, so I'm going to actually go into I'm going to take this out because I am going to switch to the next color that I have in my yarn ball cake. So what I want to do is put my hook through that single crochet, grab the next color. I'm just going to get rid of this knot right here. My straps are blue, so they will match the top of my top. So just pull right through. And I'm going to take these 2 pieces. Actually, cut this blue here. Just tie these together so they don't come apart on me. Okay, then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to make another row of single crochets. And again, you'll have the same amount as you had in your first row, which was the same amount that you had in your chain. Same amount of chains. Okay, so just go ahead and make another row of single crochets. I'm at the end of the second row of single crochets. So slip stitch into that first single crochet you made. Not this, that's the chain one. Let's go to the single crochet. Just make a slip stitch. Okay, now chain one. All right, now we're going to start a double crochet in that same stitch. So wrap your yarn, put it through that stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Grab your yarn, push it through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. You have 5 on your hook now. Wrap your yarn, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn and pull it up. Now you have 7 loops, I'm sorry. You're going to pull through the first 6. Now you have 2 on your hook, grab your yarn, pull through the last 2, and then chain 1. Now to do the next stitch, we're going to go into the stitch we just worked. So wrap your yarn, go into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop. You have 7 on your hook. Wrap your yarn, go through the first 6, and then pull through the last 2, and then chain 1. That's what we're going to do this entire round. And next one, wrap your yarn, go in that last stitch we worked in. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. You'll have 7 loops on your hook. Grab your yarn and pull it through the first 6, and then pull through the last 2 and chain 1. Okay, one more time. Go in that last stitch we worked. Pull up a loop, go in the next stitch, pull up a loop, go in the next stitch, pull up a loop. 7 loops on your hook. Pull through the first 6, and then pull through the last 2, and then chain 1. Okay, continue doing that around this row, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. Now when you get to the end of your row of your clusters, you will have 1 stitch here left. So make your cluster, go into the last stitch you worked, and pull up a loop. Go in that 1 empty stitch, pull up a loop, and now we're going to go into this very first stitch we worked over here. Pull up a loop and pull through 6, and then pull through 2, chain 1, and then we're going to go into this, let me see. Okay, we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch up here. This is the space, and then this is a stitch. So this one right here will be your first stitch, so just slip stitch into there. Chain 1. Okay, now we're going to make a row of single crochets. So go back into this, that's a stitch. Go back into that stitch, do a single crochet, go into the space, do a single crochet, go in the next stitch, do a single crochet. So we're going to do single crochets all around in all the spaces and stitches. So with your single crochets, you're going to end up with the same number of single crochets you had in the beginning. Okay, like that. Now at the end of the single crochet row, I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet we made right here, not into that, what is that, a chain 1? That's a chain 1. So into the single crochet, we'll just do a slip stitch. And now you could make a few more rows of single crochets if you want. I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to make one more row of single crochets. Okay, so chain 1, and then make a single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And meet you at the end of this row. Alright, so I made one more row, I should say, of single crochets. So I have 2 rows of single crochets here. And I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of that first single crochet. And I've counted and I have 104. Alright, so now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And it's going to be clear sailing for a while. We're going to be doing just simple double crochets row after row, and then at some point, maybe right after I get below the girls, I'm going to go up to a 6.5 millimeter hook, and then after several rows I'm going to go up to a 7. Now you don't have to do that. I'm just doing that because I want it I want the stitches to be a little looser. Also, it will kind of, it's like adding increases without adding increases. Your top will start to go out a little bit wider. Not a lot, but a little. It'll be gradual as you go towards the bottom. So it's up to you if you want to do that. Use your own creativity. Okay, so that chain 3 will count as a double crochet, so we'll go in the next stitch with a double crochet, and then every stitch after that will be double crochets. And then I'll just meet you at the end of this row. That one counts as a double crochet in the beginning, so we have 4 right now. Now when you get to the end of your first double crochet row, you just want to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 that you did. And then you're going to chain 3, that'll count as your first double crochet. And then go into the next stitch on the top here with a double crochet and continue on doing that. Double crochet in every stitch. And I'm gonna meet you here, or meet you back when I've had several rows made. All right. All right, I did 9 rows of double crochets. After around the 4th row, I went up to a 6.5, and that's just to make it flare a little bit, just to give a little bit more room for the girls. Yeah, okay, so now we are going to slip stitch this last double crochet row we did into that first chain 3 there. Slip stitch. And for this next row, we're going to do single crochets. So we're going to chain 1 and then go back into that stitch with a single crochet. We're going to do single crochets all the way around this round and the next one. Okay, so we'll have 2 rows of single crochets. And be sure when you get to when you're finished the second row of single crochets that you still have an even amount of stitches that you started with, because you'll need that, an even amount, to do the row after these 2 single crochet rows. Now at that first single crochet at the end of that first single crochet row, we are going to just slip stitch, not into that chain we made, but into that first single crochet to finish off the round. Okay, then chain 1, go back into that first stitch and make your second row of single crochets. Okay, I'll meet you at the end of this second row of single crochets. Now I'm at the end of the second row of single crochet, so we're just going to slip stitch into that first single crochet. And now we're going to chain 1. And now you can make double crochets, you know, all the way if you want. But here I'm going to be making this row here again. And so first of all, we chained 1, and now we're going to start a double crochet in that very same stitch, just like we did before when we did this row at the top. Okay, we're going to go right in there. I'm sorry, I should say yarn over, go right into that same stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop. Okay, then go into the next stitch. Same thing, yarn over, go through the next stitch with your hook, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, and you'll have 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 6. And then you'll have 2 on your hook, yarn over, pull through the last 2, chain 1. Okay, let's do that again. We're going to start in the last stitch we worked into. All right, yarn over, put your hook in that stitch we just worked, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop so that you have 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 6, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and chain 1. Okay, let's do that again. Yarn over, go into that last stitch you worked. Grab your yarn, pull it up, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop so that you have 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 6, and then yarn over, pull through the last 2, and chain 1. So exactly the same way we did it in that first row we did of this stitch. So we'll do this one more time here. Yarn over, go through that stitch we just worked into. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop so you have 6 on your hook. Yarn over, go through the first 6 loops. Yarn over, go through the last 2, and then chain 1. So let's continue doing that, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. All right, I'm at the end of the row, so I'm going to make my last, I don't know what you even call these, like clusters. So I'll make my last one. And I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch. Okay. And then we're going to chain 1, then we're going to do 2 rows of single crochets again like we did here. So chain 1, go in that first stitch with a single crochet, and then straighten out your yarn. And then we have this chain 1 space, we'll just go right into that with a single crochet, and then go into the next stitch with a single crochet, space with a single crochet, stitch with a single crochet, go in the space with a single crochet, stitch with a single crochet. So do that all the way around, and then slip stitch into your first single crochet there, and do another row of single crochets, and I'll meet you back there. All right, so I've done the 2 single crochet rows. I slip stitched into the first single crochet. Now we're going to go back into doing double crochet. So I'm going to chain 3, which counts as the first double crochet, and then I'm going to go in the next stitch, put a double crochet, and continue doing that around as many times as I need to get to the length I need or I want. And actually maybe just a little bit shorter than the length I want, because at the bottom of the top we're going to make the 2 single crochet rows, and then this cluster row, and then 2 more single crochets rows again. So that's what, if you're using a heavier weight yarn, it's going to be like an inch more or something. So we have to take that into account when we're calculating the length we want. And I might just be sticking with the 6.5 millimeter hook I'm using, or you know, it's already got a nice flare, so maybe that'll be good. I don't know, but I'll be trying it on. And it's good to try things on as you're making them, right? All right, so I'll meet you at the end of all the crochet rows we're about to make. All right, so we're down to the bottom of the double crochet row, and I'm still using the 6.5. I made 13 rows of double crochets after the single crochet rows. So now I'm going to make 2 rows of single crochets, and then we're going to make that cluster stitch. So this top is now close to the length I want it to be. Now the bottom part of it, which is going to be the same as this, with the 2 single crochet rows and then the clusters, whatever they are, and then 2 more single crochet rows. So that takes, you know, about an inch or close to an inch. So I'm taking that into account while I'm making this, that's going to add a little bit of length. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, go back into that stitch with a single crochet, and then a single crochet in every stitch around. It's same as what you did in the middle of the top, just under your girls or wherever you put it, or maybe you didn't put it there at all. And that's quite fine. So I will show this, even though I've showed it before, I'll show it again in case you haven't done it in the middle. And then you can, you know how to do it around the bottom. Oops. Yeah, so single crochets all the way around for 2 rows. Okay, now I'm at the end of the first single crochet row. So what we're going to do is slip stitch into that first single crochet we made, not that, where is it, not that chain 1, but the single crochet. Slip stitch and chain 1, go right back in there with a single crochet, and continue making a single crochet in every single crochet around. And then when you get to the end of this row, make sure that you have your even number of stitches, like you started off with an even number of chains, the same amount, because you'll need that amount to do the next row, or the next row needs to be worked into a row that has an even number of stitches. So any even number, whatever you started with. What did I start with? 104 maybe? I can't remember now. Yeah. All right, so I will meet you at the next row. Okay, I'm at the end of the second row of single crochets. We're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet. And then I'm actually, let me see here. I'm going to change the yarn color because I want the bottom to match the top part of the top. Oh, those are good scissors. They've had a good workout. They're getting a little dull. Okay. Now we're going to go with this. Well, I'm going to go with this purple. So what gee, I hope that was in camera. Okay, it looked like it was. Okay, so now I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to go back into that single crochet I'm going to start a double crochet, sorry. So wrap your yarn, go through that single crochet, grab your yarn, and pull up. And you'll have 3 on your hook. So wrap your yarn, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. So now you'll have 5 on your hook, and wrap your yarn, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. Now you're going to have 7 on your hook, grab your yarn, pull through the first 6, you end up with 2, grab your yarn, pull through 2, and then chain 1. All right, it's the same as we did around the top. Okay, yarn over, go through that same stitch we just worked in, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. You'll have 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 6, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and then chain 1. All right, so yarn over, go through that stitch you just worked in, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, grab your yarn, go in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then you have 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 6, and then yarn, oh come on, yarn over and pull through the last 2, and then chain 1. Okay, let's do that again. Go in that last stitch we worked, pull up a loop, go in the next one, pull up a loop, go in the next one, pull up a loop, take 7 on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 6, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and chain 1. So continue doing that around this row, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. Now here I am at the end of the cluster row. I just have one more to make here. You should have 2 stitches left. And let's finish this off. Okay, chain 1. All right, so now we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch we made there, and oh, I'm actually going to change my yarn to the blue, so I want to finish it off with blue. Yeah. Now I think it would look really neat if we put oh, I don't know, solid color throughout the body, and then changed, you know, have a different color for the, just for the clusters, so that they just pop. I think that would look neat. But I had to, these are scraps and stuff, so I had to kind of, you know, figure it out a different way. But I think it looks nice still. Okay, let's see, we're gonna chain 1 and then put the single crochet, 2 single crochet rows around. So put a single crochet in the single crochet, in the stitch, and then 1 in the chain 1 space, 1 in the stitch, the chain 1 space, the stitch, chain 1 space, in the stitch, all the way around, and do 2 rows, or at least that's what I'm doing. And then we'll go on to the next step. Now we're at the end of the second row of single crochets. So we're just gonna slip stitch in that first one we made in that row and then cut our yarn. Then we're gonna go to the top of the top and do a row of single crochets around the top where that, oopsies. Oh, I just pulled it apart. I'll be right back. There we go. You get a blooper. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the top part where we started. This is our chain. Some of you may crochet into the back loop of the chain, the little bump. I haven't really tried to do that, but I wonder if that would make a difference. Maybe you wouldn't have to come back up here and do a single crochet around your chain to tidy it up. Maybe you could let me know in the comments. That would be awesome. Yeah. So this is how I'm doing it. Single crochet into the chain to tidy it up. And then the next step would be attaching the straps. So we'll be doing that after this. Okay, when you get back around, just like we've been doing before, slip stitch into the top of that first single crochet to end your round. I just wanted to mention that I think it looks kind of neat. I think it adds a different detail of design. What do you guys think? Putting a single crochet into each chain. I think it looks kind of neat. All right, these are the straps. I usually make my straps about, I used to make them way too short, but now I make them about 10 inches. And this one is going to be roughly 2.5 inches wide. So what we're going to do is, I don't need my pen, I need my hook. We are going to leave a long strand for sewing it on. Okay. And then we're going to chain odd number. It needs to be an odd number. So what I'm doing is chaining 11. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then I'm going to put a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And I'm going to end up with 10 single crochets. Going to have a single crochet in every chain along. So we will have 10 single crochets when we're done this row. So when you get to the end of this first row, we will chain 1 and turn our work. Okay, I'm at the end. Chain 1, turn our work, and then we're going to make another row of single crochets. Let's go right into that first stitch with a single crochet. Crochet along so that you end up with 10 single crochets. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn our work. And that chain 3 counts as a double crochet, but we are going to go into the bottom of that chain 3. So wrap your yarn, put your hook through the bottom of that chain 3, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Grab your yarn, go into the next stitch, pull your yarn, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then you're going to have 7, total of 7 loops. Wrap your yarn, pull through the first 6, grab your yarn, pull through the next 2, and then chain 1. All right, so now we wrap the yarn. We do the same thing. Wrap the yarn, and we're going to go into that last stitch that we worked in. Put your hook through, pull your yarn through, pull up a loop, wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop, grab your yarn, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, so that you have 7 loops on your hook. Grab your yarn, pull it through the first 6, and then pull through 2, and then chain 1. Okay, we're going to do that across this row. Grab your yarn, go through that last stitch we worked into. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, push it through the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, pull up a loop. Oh, excuse me. Wrap your yarn, go through the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through. 7 loops on your hook. Grab your yarn, pull it through the first 6. Grab your yarn, pull through the last 2. And then chain 1. Okay, we're going to do that one more time. Grab your yarn, go through that last stitch you worked in. Pull up a loop. Grab your yarn, go in the next stitch. Pull up a loop. Grab your yarn, go in the next stitch. Pull up a loop. You'll have 1 stitch left in this row. Grab your yarn, pull through 6. Grab your yarn, pull through 2. Chain 1. And then in that last stitch we have, we're going to make a double crochet. I know this would show up better on lighter yarn, lighter color. Chain 3. Turn your work around. Now we're going to make double crochets across this row. Go into this first space with a double crochet. Go into the next stitch with a double crochet. Go in that next space with a double crochet. Go into your next stitch right here with a double crochet. Go your next space with a double crochet. Go in the next stitch with a double crochet. Next space with a double crochet. Go in the next stitch with a double crochet, and then go into that last chain with a double crochet, or double crochet with a double crochet. All right, so you're still going to have 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to chain 3. And then we're going to repeat this row and then the double crochet row right after it. So let's do this row again. Wrap your yarn, go into the bottom of that chain 3. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through. Okay, wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through. You'll have 7 loops on your hook. Grab your yarn, go through the first 6. Grab your yarn, go through the next 2, chain 1. Okay, so go into the that stitch we just worked, that last stitch we worked. Wrap your yarn, go in there. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Wrap your yarn, go in the next stitch. Grab your yarn, pull up a loop. Grab your yarn, go in the next stitch. Pull your yarn through, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through the first 6. Grab your yarn, go through the next 2 and chain 1. So let's continue doing that a couple more times in this row. After a while, it's like second nature. I find that any stitch I repeat becomes just natural. Do you find that too? Okay, so this is the last one in this row of these stitches, and then put a double crochet in that last stitch. And then you're going to chain 3 and then put a double crochet in every space as well as every stitch. And you'll have 10 stitches across. So keep doing this until you have the length of strap that you want. After you make your last row at the end here, we're going to do 2 rows of single crochet like we did in the beginning. So I will show you that when I get to the length of the strap. That I require. Okay. One, 2. Oh, I missed one. I missed a space. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's really good to count your stitches. It reduces the frogging. Okay. I'll meet you at the end of this strap. Okay, I've made my last cluster row, so now we're going to make 2 rows of single crochets. So let's chain 1, put a single crochet in that very first stitch, and then in the space, in the stitch, in the space, in the stitch, all the way across, and then you will end up having 10 single crochets. Don't forget that very last stitch. Okay. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, chain one, turn your work, and then we'll make another row of single crochets. And then we're going to leave a long tail for sewing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, just do a chain one at the end there and leave a long tail. For sewing. All right, so let's attach the straps. Okay, this is the front or the outside, the right side showing. And then for the strap, I have the wrong side showing. And I have this tank top under so I can position the strap near the right place. And then I have a safety pin, and I'm just going to pin it on there. And then when it's flipped over, the right side is going to show. And then we're just going to sew it along the edge there. Okay, so that's how I position my straps. And then I always count stitches under my arms to make sure I have the same amount under each arm. Yeah. All right, so here's my tail that I remember to leave on the straps. So I'm just going to try to grab both loops there, or both strands, whatever it's called, on both sides, back and the strap, and then just sew along. Just sew all the way along, and weave in your end when you get to the end. And then do the strap, the other strap the same way, of course. And then we're going to do a single crochet around the straps, down the back, and then under the arms as well, around the straps. Okay. And just to tidy it up, help it look neat, and to strengthen straps so they don't stretch or anything. Okay, so I made a knot, and then I'm just going to sew in this end, or weave it in. like so and cut it off. And then go on to the next one, and that's just how you do that. You do the back the same. And I'll meet back with you when I've done the other straps. The straps are on. Now I'm just going to do a simple single crochet all the way around the middle and under the arms and around the strap. So just start where you want to start. You could probably start anywhere. Oh dear. Okay, so then I put a slip stitch on my hook and I pull it through, chain one, and then put a single crochet right into that first stitch. And you can go right over top of your end if you want. Just lay it on the top, go over it, or sew it in later. It's up to you. So then go in the next stitch and just do single crochets. Or if you know of a cute little border, you could put that around here. You know, it's your top. If you have neat little tricks, go ahead and use them. Be creative. All right, I'm using my 6mm, which is what I started this top with. Okay, sometimes might be a little difficult to get in the stitches, but you know, just do your best, space them out as evenly as possible. Try to go under 2 strands. I think it just looks neater. And if you can't, that's fine. So go all the way around, and then you're going to end up back here. Oh, I was thinking there's something I wanted to say. When you do a few, just check back to make sure it's not like rippling or something, because then that would mean you have your stitches too close together. Yeah, so I always check back to make sure I've positioned them good, like a proper distance away from one another. Okay, so I will meet you at the end of this single crochet border. We've gone all the way around with that single crochet, all the way around the straps, and then met up back here. And actually I went this way, but anyway. So then we're going to do the same thing under the arms. See how this looks? This is the one side with the single crochet, and this is the side without. See, doesn't it look much neater, or a little neater? And so then when you get back to where you started, you just slip stitch into that first single crochet and chain one, and then cut off your yarn, sew it in later or now, whenever you want to. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the underarm ones off camera, and then I'll see you after that. And here it is, your top is done. All the ends are sewn in. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will have more. I have a tutorial playlist linked below if you'd like to check it out. And please subscribe and hit the like if you like this video, and please leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought, and if there's any improvements I can make. I love constructive criticism. All right, thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your new top.